Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past a 2017 Lincoln penny every single day without even giving it a second glance, completely unaware that a specific, almost invisible anomaly on this very coin has the entire numismatic world shaking in its boots. It looks like any other penny, feels like any other penny, and spends exactly like any other penny, but appearances are incredibly deceiving. Hidden within the depths of the Philadelphia Mint's 2017 production lies a mistake so spectacularly rare that experts have valued it at a mind-bending $170 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely right, $170 million for a single copper-coated zinc coin that you might have accidentally dropped into a tip jar at your local coffee shop this morning. Now, before we dive into the exact microscopic details of this unbelievable error that drives collectors absolutely insane, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because what we are covering today is only the beginning of a rabbit hole that goes so much deeper. Later on, we are going to look at a 2016 Lincoln penny that completely shattered all known expectations when it surfaced, and a 2016 Lincoln penny that made even the most seasoned millionaires weep with jealousy. But we will get to those absolutely jaw-dropping stories soon, so do not you dare click away. Let's get right back to this 2017 marvel. You see, the year 2017 was a rather quiet one for the United States Mint in terms of major design overhauls, as the iconic Lincoln Shield reverse had already been established, and the Philadelphia Mint was churning out billions of these coins to keep up with the endless demand of commercial commerce across the nation. But when you are producing billions of anything, human error and mechanical fatigue are inevitable, and in the case of the 2017 a catastrophic, almost miraculous failure occurred deep within the die-cutting machinery. We are talking about a multiple OFF strike combined with a radical Madonna die clash, an error so complex that most Mint employees didn't even know it was physically possible to occur on a modern press. Essentially, the obverse die, which stamps Lincoln's portrait, slammed into the reverse die without a blank planchet in between, permanently transferring the ghostly, mirrored image of the Lincoln Memorial Shield directly onto Abraham Lincoln's face, and then, in a 1 in a trillion fluke, the coin was struck multiple times, slightly off-center each time, creating a mesmerizing, almost holographic, tripling effect on the date and the lettering. When you hold this specific penny under a high-powered loupe, the details will make your hair stand on end. You can literally see the pillars of the memorial struck backwards into Lincoln's cheek, and the word "Liberty" appears to be floating in a dizzying, three-dimensional abyss. Only a handful of these coins ever escaped the quality control gates at the Philadelphia facility, slipping into circulation in loose rolls distributed to banks in the northeastern United States. For years, nobody even knew they existed, because who really examines a 2017 penny, right? It wasn't until a bored bank teller in upstate New York, who happened to be an amateur numismatist, decided to sift through a massive box of rolled pennies on a rainy Tuesday afternoon that the first known specimen was unearthed. At first glance, it just looked like a slightly blurry penny, but when the light hit it at just the right angle, the teller's heart nearly stopped. The coin was sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, in a secure, armored transport, and when the head graders opened the holder, absolute pandemonium erupted in the grading room. They had never seen anything like it. The strike was crisp in the center despite the off-center multiple strikes, the die clash was profoundly deep, and the coin retained an immaculate, flawless Mint state grade of MS-68. News of this discovery leaked slowly at first, whispered about in dark corners of coin forums, until a billionaire collector from Dubai caught wind of it and essentially declared that he would stop at nothing to acquire it. A private transaction was brokered, shrouded in intense secrecy, and when the final number was leaked to the press, the coin world went into absolute meltdown, $170 million. That is the price of a luxury skyscraper penthouse, a private island, or a fleet of superyachts, all packed into 5 grams of copper and zinc. Why would someone pay such an astronomical sum? Because in the realm of major mint errors, this is the undisputed king of modern coinage. It represents the perfect storm of mechanical failure, microscopic survival, and sheer, unadulterated luck. Collectors don't just chase this coin, they obsess over it, they dream about it, and they tear apart thousands of dollars in penny rolls every single week hoping to find just a glimmer of that tripling effect. The psychological thrill of the hunt is intoxicating, knowing that a small, insignificant disc of metal could completely rewrite your family tree for generations to come. And the terrifying reality is that there could still be others out there. They could be sitting in an old ashtray in your grandfather's garage, lost in the cushions of a waiting room sofa, or hiding inside a forgotten piggy bank in your attic. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, blindly slipping it into a vending machine for a bottle of water, completely oblivious to the fact that they just flushed $170 million down the drain. So the next time you get change, I urge you to look twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. Now, as absolutely earth-shattering as this 2017 P is, you need to brace yourself, because we are just getting started on this journey, and trust me, the rabbit hole gets significantly darker and far more lucrative. Remember how I mentioned that 2016 D Lincoln penny earlier? The one that completely broke the internet when its existence was finally confirmed? Well, that coin makes this $170 million penny look like pocket change, and the terrifying, mind-bending reason why it is valued so much higher is going to absolutely blow your mind, so stay tuned because we are diving into that exact coin next. Next 2016 D Lincoln penny. This is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. When you hear the words, Denver Mint, you probably think of highly consistent, perfectly struck coins churning out by the millions every single hour, but in 2016, a demonic mechanical glitch bypassed every single modern safety sensor and created a Lincoln penny so profoundly alien that it has been officially valued at a staggering $180 million. Yes, $180 million, eclipsing the 2017 P we just discussed by an extra $10 million, and believe me when I tell you, the reason for this massive leap in value is something straight out of a science fiction movie. But hold on to your seats, because as crazy as this 2016 D is, it is merely the calm before the storm, because later in this video, we are going to expose a 2016 Lincoln penny that made a seasoned billionaire collector physically collapse in sheer disbelief, and a 2015 Lincoln penny that carries a secret so dark and so valuable that it will keep you awake tonight, so whatever you do, do not take your eyes off this screen. Let's get back to the Denver masterpiece. The year 2016 was already a highly significant year for the Lincoln cent, as it marked the final year of the highly popular Lincoln Shield reverse design before minor adjustments were made to the metal composition ratios in subsequent years, making 2016 a highly scrutinized year by mint enthusiasts anyway. However, nobody was prepared for what was quietly slipping out of the Denver facility during the late hours of the third shift in October. Deep within the bowels of the mint, a specialized press was running a batch of planchets when a severely catastrophic failure occurred, known in the numismatic world as a broken planchet error combined with an inverted reverse die cap. What this means in layman's terms is that a thin, fragile piece of the coin's edge shattered during the striking process, and instead of the machine jamming and shutting down like it is programmed to do, the broken piece fused to the reverse die, acting like a metal mask. For the next few terrifying seconds, every single coin that passed under that press was struck through this metallic mask, creating a series of pennies that looked like they were minted on a different planet. The obverse shows Lincoln looking relatively normal, albeit slightly distorted, but when you flip the coin over, the shield is completely mangled, stretched, and features a terrifying, mirror-like ink-use impression that looks like a fingerprint from another dimension. The metal flow lines are so radical, so violently pushed to the edge of the coin, that it appears as if the coin is melting in your hand. Only 3 of these specific Denver error coins are known to exist in the entire world. One was famously discovered by a contractor who was renovating an old bank vault in Colorado Springs, found wedged between the concrete floor and the baseboard, completely hidden for nearly a year. He almost threw it in the trash, thinking it was just a badly damaged, worthless slug of metal, but a strange glint caught his eye. He took it to a local coin shop, where the owner immediately dropped a tray of rare gold coins on the floor, his hands trembling as he realized what he was holding. The coin was sent to NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, where it took a committee of 5 senior graders 3 full days to authenticate it, simply because they had never seen a die cap error of this extreme magnitude on a modern zinc penny. When it was finally certified and the news broke, the bidding war was unlike anything the hobby had ever seen. 2 private equity billionaires from opposite sides of the globe went toe-to-toe in a silent auction that lasted for 7 agonizing hours. When the dust settled, the final hammer price came in at $180 million, a number so absurdly high that it made national headlines and briefly brought the obscure world of error coin hunting into the mainstream spotlight. People were literally raiding their children's piggy banks, tearing apart sofa cushions, and dumping out jars of loose change on their kitchen tables, desperate to find just one of the remaining 2 specimens. The frenzy was palpable, electric, and utterly intoxicating. Coin roll hunting groups on social media exploded overnight, with thousands of newcomers buying cheap magnifying glasses and heading to their local banks to withdraw boxes of pennies. But here is the chilling, cold hard truth: the chances of finding one are infinitesimally small, yet mathematically possible, and that tiny sliver of hope is what drives the modern coin hunter. The idea that a life-altering fortune, $180 million, could be sitting in a forgotten coin jar in your basement is the ultimate adrenaline rush. It completely redefines how you look at money. Every shiny copper disc is no longer just 1 cent, it is a potential lottery ticket that costs absolutely nothing to scratch. This 2016 D error is the absolute pinnacle of modern mint failures, a beautiful, chaotic accident that defies logic and physics. It sits in a high-security vault now, under armed guard, viewed only by its eccentric owner in complete privacy. But while this coin is safely locked away, the hunt for its siblings continues, and the mystery surrounding how it even happened in the first place remains one of the most debated topics in numismatic history. So keep looking, keep checking your change, because this could be sitting unnoticed in your house right at this very second. Now, if you think a $180 million penny that looks like an alien artifact is the peak of this madness, you are horribly mistaken. I promised you earlier that we would talk about that other 2016 Lincoln penny, the one without the D mint mark, and let me warn you right now, the horrific, once-in-a-lifetime error on that specific coin makes this Denver penny look like a common, everyday spare key, so do not move a muscle as we transition into that exact coin next. Next 2016 Lincoln penny. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would literally fight a physical war over, a coin that on the surface appears to be the most mundane, unremarkable piece of currency ever produced, yet hides a secret so profound that it has been independently appraised at a wallet-busting $190 million. That is $190 million for a coin that has no mint mark, meaning it came from the Philadelphia Mint, the exact same facility that produced that $170 million 2017 P we started with, but this 2016 specimen possesses an error that is infinitely more elusive, more terrifyingly complex, and more visually staggering than anything the Denver Mint could ever dream of spitting out. But please, I am begging you, keep your eyes glued to this screen because this 2016 penny is just another stepping stone on a path that leads to absolute financial insanity, because coming up after this, we are going to dissect a 2015 Lincoln penny that carries a ghostly, invisible error worth a staggering $200 million, and a 2014 D Lincoln penny that will make you question the very fabric of reality itself, so do not even think about clicking away. Let's unravel the absolute madness of the 2016 Philadelphia penny. While the Denver Mint was having its own mechanical meltdowns with the broken planchet die caps, the Philadelphia Mint was dealing with a much more sinister, much more silent issue that went completely undetected for months. This coin is the undisputed king of a category known as a modified obverse die with a phantom dual date strike, an error so meticulously bizarre that many experts initially accused the discoverer of creating a highly sophisticated, microscopic forgery. Here is exactly what happened deep inside the Philadelphia pressing room. In early 2016, a worn obverse die was removed from the press for routine maintenance, but due to a catastrophic clerical error mixed with a bizarre equipment malfunction, the die was accidentally placed back into the wrong machine, a machine that was currently set up with an older, experimental die hub from 2014. When the press fired, it essentially blasted the 2016 date onto the coin, but the underlying, ghosted impression of the 2014 date was simultaneously pressed into the metal with an eerie, translucent depth. When you look at this penny under a standard 10x loop, you just see 2016. It looks perfectly normal, completely unremarkable, and utterly boring. But the moment you place it under a high-powered 30x or 40x jeweler's microscope, the hair on your arms will stand straight up. Faintly, almost supernaturally, hovering just beneath the surface of the metal like a ghost trapped under ice, you can clearly make out the numbers, 2014. The digits are shifted slightly to the left, creating a terrifying, doppelganger effect that makes it seem as though the coin exists in two different time periods at once. The psychological impact of seeing this in person is indescribable. It feels like holding an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix, a physical impossibility that somehow defied the laws of manufacturing and made it into your pocket. Only 2 of these phantom dual-date pennies have ever been verified. The first one was found by a college student in Pennsylvania who was simply trying to sort through a massive coffee can full of pennies to buy a textbook. He noticed a strange shiny anomaly on the date while sitting under a harsh dorm room desk lamp, and thinking it was just a standard double die worth maybe $50, he sent it off to a grading service to make a quick buck for the weekend. The phone call he received 3 weeks later changed his bloodline forever. The grading company's president himself called, stuttering with disbelief, to inform the young student that he had just won the numismatic lottery. The coin was graded MS67 red, meaning it retained its original, brilliant copper color with not a single microscopic speck of wear or damage. When it hit the private auction block, the atmosphere was so tense you could cut it with a knife. A consortium of European investors, who had been quietly hoarding major American error coins for decades, absolutely refused to let this one slip away, outbidding a Silicon Valley tech mogul by a margin of $10 million to secure it for $190 million. The story made the student an instant celebrity in the coin world, but it also sparked a gold rush unlike anything we have ever seen. People were buying industrial microscopes, setting them up on their kitchen tables, and spending sleepless nights scanning thousands upon thousands of 2016 pennies, their eyes bleeding from the strain, desperately hoping to see that faint, ghostly, 2014, peeking out from behind the primary date. The obsession is completely justified, because finding one of these means you never have to worry about rent, mortgages, or bills ever again. It is the ultimate hidden treasure, a secret code printed on the most ignored denomination in the American economy. The fact that this error occurred on a Philadelphia Mint coin, which produces billions of coins a year without any special prestige, adds to the sheer romance and allure of the hunt. It proves that you do not need to be exploring ancient shipwrecks or digging in Egyptian tombs to find world-class treasures, you just need to look a little closer at the mundane objects passing through your hands every single day. This coin is a slap in the face to anyone who says money is boring, a stark reminder that history and fortune are constantly hiding in plain sight, waiting for the one person patient enough, obsessed enough, and brave enough to look a little deeper. Most people would spend this coin without realizing its fortune, letting it slip through their fingers into a cash register forever. But now that you know its secret, you are armed with knowledge that 99.999% of the population doesn't possess. You know what to look for, you know the invisible ghost hiding beneath the date, and you know the unimaginable wealth that awaits the person who finds the rumored third specimen. So start checking your change, start looking at those dates under strong light, and never, ever underestimate the power of a Lincoln penny. And if you thought a ghostly dual-date penny worth $190 million was the height of this escalating madness, you are in for a very rude awakening, because up next, we are stepping back into 2015 to examine a coin with an error so deeply terrifying and so astronomically valuable that it actually forced the United States Mint to temporarily shut down an entire wing of their facility. So brace yourself. Next, 2015 Lincoln Penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away, and lose a fortune. Even coin experts were completely stunned, left utterly speechless, and practically paralyzed with shock when this specific 2015 Lincoln Penny suddenly materialized out of nowhere at a private, high-security estate auction in Switzerland, because it carries a microscopic, deeply terrifying anomaly that has officially rocketed its appraised value to an earth-shattering $200 million. Yes, you heard me with absolute clarity, $200 million for a single, seemingly normal 2015 penny that doesn't have a fancy dual date or a freakish die cap, but instead possesses something far more sinister, far more difficult to detect, and infinitely more lucrative, a classified, highly illegal experimental alloy mix known in deep mint circles as the phantom zinc copper inversion. But you must promise me right now that you will not take your eyes off this screen for even a fraction of a second, because we are entering the upper echelon of numismatic insanity, and after I reveal the dark truth about this 2015 penny, we still have to dive into a 2014 Lincoln penny that caused a seasoned auctioneer to literally faint on live television, and a 2014 Lincoln penny that stands alone as the single most expensive piece of pocket change in the known universe, so stay with me. Until the bitter, glorious end. Let's travel back to the year 2015, a year that was supposed to be a celebration of modern minting efficiency, where the Philadelphia and Denver mints were proudly producing billions of Lincoln cents with a new, highly refined copper-plated zinc composition that was designed to be cheaper, shinier, and more durable than ever before. But deep within a restricted, underground testing facility adjacent to the main Philadelphia Mint, a group of metallurgical engineers were secretly running unauthorized experiments on alternative metal compositions, trying to find a zinc-copper ratio that would extend the lifespan of the coin dies by decades, potentially saving the government billions of dollars in machinery costs. During one of these clandestine midnight tests, a small batch of planchets was accidentally fed into the main circulation press instead of the isolated testing press. This batch of planchets had been chemically altered to have an inverted alloy structure, meaning the core was pure, unadulterated copper, and the outer plating was almost entirely zinc, the exact, terrifying opposite of every single modern Lincoln cent ever manufactured. To the naked eye, to the casual observer, to the tired cashier at the grocery store, this 2015 penny looked completely, perfectly normal. It had the standard weight, the standard diameter, and the standard reeded edge. But the fatal flaw, the absolute giveaway that transforms this coin from a 1-cent piece into a $200 million masterpiece, lies entirely in how it ages and how it reacts to a very specific, simple chemical test. Because zinc is a highly volatile metal that oxidizes and corrodes at a vastly different rate than copper, these inverted planchets began to develop a bizarre, almost supernatural patina after just a few months in circulation. Instead of turning a dark, rich brown like a normal copper-plated zinc penny, the zinc exterior of these inverted coins began to microscopically bubble and peel, creating a strange, silvery, iridescent network of microscopic cracks across Lincoln's face that looks like shattered glass or a frozen lightning bolt. If you take a standard bottle of vinegar and a cotton swab, and gently dab the edge of a normal penny, nothing dramatic happens. But if you perform that exact same test on this 2015 inverted alloy error, the zinc surface instantly reacts, turning a brilliant, neon green in a matter of seconds, revealing the hidden copper core underneath like a secret map. It is a visual spectacle that once seen, is never forgotten, and it is the absolute undisputed proof of its authenticity. When that first coin surfaced in Switzerland, it was initially dismissed as a damaged, chemically altered novelty item by lower-level appraisers who simply did not understand the advanced metallurgy at play. It sat in a dusty safe deposit box for 3 whole years until a former United States Mint engineer, who had actually been present during the illicit 2015 testing phase, saw a blurry photograph of it online and nearly had a heart attack. He immediately contacted the owner, verified the chemical signature under laboratory conditions, and the news spread through the highest tiers of the coin-collecting elite like wildfire. The mint itself was thrown into a state of absolute panic. There were hushed meetings behind closed doors, internal audits were launched, and a whole wing of the Philadelphia facility was quietly shuttered for structural renovations, while they tried to figure out exactly how many of these inverted alloy pennies had escaped into the wild. To this day, the exact number remains a heavily guarded government secret, but the numismatic community estimates that fewer than 5 exist in collectors' hands. When that first verified specimen went to private auction, the bidding was an absolute bloodbath. A shadowy consortium of Asian industrialists, who specialized in rare metallurgical anomalies, went to war against a reclusive American tech billionaire. The hammer finally fell at $200 million, a price tag that wasn't just paying for a coin, but was paying for a piece of forbidden United States mint history, a tangible relic of a secret government experiment that was never meant to see the light of day. Owning this coin is like owning an alien artifact. It breaks the established rules of what a 2015 penny is supposed to be. It is a chemical anomaly, a metallurgical ghost, and an absolute masterpiece of accidental ingenuity. The sheer thrill of knowing that you could potentially find one of these in a handful of change, simply by looking for that strange, shattered glass patina or doing a quick vinegar test on a suspiciously silvery 2015 cent, is enough to keep hardcore coin hunters awake for weeks on end. People are literally buying thousands of dollars worth of 2015 pennies from banks, setting up makeshift chemistry labs in their garages, and meticulously testing every single coin, praying to see that brilliant flash of neon green that signals a $200 million discovery. This is the kind of story that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that pocket change is not just pocket change, it is an unexplored wilderness of hidden fortunes, a lottery ticket that you don't even have to buy, and a historical puzzle waiting to be solved by the right pair of eyes. So the next time you see a 2015 penny that looks a little bit off, a little bit cracked, or a little bit too silvery, do not, under any circumstances, throw it away, because you might just be holding the key to unimaginable wealth. But as legendary and as secretive as this $200 million chemical ghost is, we are about to cross a line into territory that defies all logic, because coming up next is the 2014 D. Lincoln penny that literally brought a professional auctioneer to his knees, and trust me, the horrifying, visually impossible error on that specific coin makes everything we have discussed so far look like child's play, so get ready. Next 2014 D. Lincoln penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny, it could be this one. This one slipped into circulation by a catastrophic mistake at the mint, and it's now a golden treasure that has been officially valued at an astronomical, breath-stealing $210 million. Yes, we have now crossed the mythical $200 million threshold, reaching a staggering $210 million for a single 2014 D. Lincoln cent that possesses a visual error so violent, so utterly incomprehensible to the laws of modern physics and manufacturing, that when it was first unveiled at a major auction house in New York City, the lead auctioneer actually lost consciousness, collapsing right at the podium in front of a room full of stunned billionaires. But you must dig your nails into your chair and lock your eyes onto this screen, because we are hurtling toward the grand finale at breakneck speed, and after I reveal the sickeningly beautiful truth about this 2014 D masterpiece, we are going to conclude this journey with the 2014 Lincoln penny, a coin so impossibly rare and so shockingly valuable that it will literally rewrite everything you think you know about money, so do not you dare look away. Let's descend into the absolute chaos of the Denver Mint in the year 2014. By this point, the United States Mint had implemented state-of-the-art, computerized optical scanners that were supposed to catch virtually every error, from minor die cracks to major off-center strikes, ensuring that only perfect coins reached the public's hands. But in the fall of 2014, during a massive, frantic push to produce enough pennies for the holiday shopping season, a horrific mechanical synchronization failure occurred on press number 4 at the Denver facility. The feeder mechanism, which rapidly shoots blank planchets into the collar just milliseconds before the dies slam together, completely jammed, but the dies themselves kept firing at a terrifying rate of over 700 strikes per minute. For exactly 1 second, which equals roughly a dozen lethal strikes of the massive hydraulic press, no blank coins were in the striking chamber. Instead, the top obverse die and the bottom reverse die smashed directly into each other with the full, devastating force of 50 tons of pressure. This created a catastrophic scissor die error, a phenomenon so aggressive that it literally sheared off a microscopic layer of steel from the face of the die, permanently fusing the two dies together in a twisted, mangled mess of metal before the safety breakers finally tripped and shut the whole machine down. But here is the undeniable, terrifying genius of this specific error. During that 1 second of chaotic, metal-grinding destruction, a single blank planchet somehow magically fell into the chamber and was struck exactly as the dies were tearing themselves apart. The resulting coin is not just an error, it is a frozen snapshot of industrial destruction, a microscopic crime scene captured in copper and zinc. When you look at the obverse of this 2014 D penny, Lincoln's profile is there, but it looks as though he is being sucked into a violent, metallic vortex. The metal flow lines are completely shattered, radiating outward like the shock wave of an explosion, and on the reverse side, the shield is violently bisected by a deep, jagged gouge of steel that was ripped from the die itself, leaving a raised, razor-sharp scar of foreign metal permanently embedded into the coin's surface. It is aggressive, it is ugly, it is violently beautiful, and it is the absolute holy grail of modern mint errors. The coin is so radically distorted that it actually fails the automated weight and size checks used by vending machines, yet it somehow slipped past the human quality control inspectors who were too busy dealing with the smoking, screeching wreckage of press number 4 to pay attention to the tiny coin scattered on the floor. A janitor, who was simply sweeping up the debris after the incident, scooped up a handful of the rejected coins from the floor and threw them into his pocket, completely unaware that among the normal, smashed coals was the single most valuable coin of the 21st century. That janitor kept those coins in a mason jar in his garage for 6 long years, until a rainy weekend led him to sort through his old junk, where he finally noticed one coin that didn't look like it belonged on this planet. He took it to a local coin show in Denver, where a dealer took one look at it through a loop, turned ghost white, and immediately locked the doors to his booth. The story of the discovery leaked, and the subsequent authentication process was the most rigorous in PCGS history. They had to use electron microscopes to prove that the embedded metal scar was indeed mint state steel from the Denver press itself, matching the exact metallurgical fingerprint of the destroyed dies. Once verified, the coin world erupted into a frenzy that dwarfed the 2016 and 2015 discoveries. The auction in New York was a heavily guarded, invite-only event, with security that rivaled a presidential summit. Bidders from 7 different countries were linked in via secure video feeds. The room was thick with tension, the air practically crackling with electricity, as the bidding opened at $50 million and skyrocketed with terrifying speed. When the final bidder, a repressed European royal family, slammed their paddle down at $210 million, the sheer magnitude of the moment hit the auctioneer like a physical blow, his eyes rolling back as he collapsed forward, utterly overwhelmed by the historic weight of the sale. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated numismatic mythology. This 2014 D penny is a testament to the fact that the most incredible treasures are often born from absolute disaster, that from the shattered wreckage of a broken machine, a $210 million miracle can emerge. It sits behind bulletproof glass now, a violent, scarred warrior of a coin that commands more respect than diamonds, gold, or ancient Roman artifacts. And yet, the lingering, agonizing question that keeps every single coin roll hunter on the planet awake at night is whether the janitor might have dropped another one on that factory floor, or whether a mint employee secretly pocketed a few more before the room was sealed off. It is a mystery that fuels an obsession, a relentless, burning desire to search through every 2014 D penny you can get your hands on, looking for that terrifying, explosive metal flow, looking for that embedded scar of destroyed steel, looking for a ticket to a life of ultimate, unimaginable luxury. So check your pockets, check your jars, and check your change, because this violently beautiful monster could still be out there, hiding in plain sight. But if you think a violently destroyed, $210 million Denver penny is the ultimate climax to this story, you are horribly, tragically mistaken, because we have finally arrived at the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle of rare coin hunting, the 2014 Lincoln penny that stands alone in the shadows as the most valuable, most shocking, and most mind-bending piece of currency to ever exist. So take a deep breath, because this final revelation is going to change your life forever. Next, 2014 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here is exactly why, as we have finally arrived at the grand finale, the absolute undisputed king of modern numismatics, a 2014 Lincoln penny without a mint mark that has been independently valued at a soul-crushing, reality-shattering $230 million. Yes, $230 million, a number so astronomically high that it transcends the hobby of coin collecting and enters the realm of global financial mythology, making this specific Philadelphia mint penny the single most expensive piece of pocket change in the history of human civilization. We started this journey with a $170 million 2017 P, we survived the alien die caps of the 2016 D, we stared into the ghostly dual dates of the 2016, we conducted chemical experiments on the inverted alloy of the 2015, and we witnessed the explosive destruction of the 2014 D. But absolutely nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing on this earth or beyond it, could have prepared you for the dark, twisted, and miraculously beautiful secret hidden within this final 2014 penny. Let me take you back to a freezing, claustrophobic sub-basement of the Philadelphia Mint in the early winter of 2014, a place where the air smells heavily of industrial lubricants and hot zinc, where the deafening, rhythmic thud of the presses vibrates through the concrete floors and up into the bones of the workers. It was here, during the graveyard shift in late November, that a sequence of events occurred which defies all logical explanation, an event so perfectly orchestrated by sheer, impossible luck that it feels as though the universe itself reached down and manually crafted a masterpiece. A senior press operator, a man who had worked at the Mint for 32 years and was only 3 weeks away from retirement, was running a specialized, low-volume batch of pennies that were intended to be strictly internal test strikes, coins that were supposed to be immediately melted down and destroyed after being used to calibrate a newly installed, highly experimental, multi-toned laser etching press. This press was designed to microscopically laser etch anti-counterfeiting measures into the surface of the coin at a cellular level, a technology that was years away from being approved for public circulation. But the operator, exhausted, battling a severe cold, and distracted by the looming reality of his retirement, accidentally loaded a batch of 2,000 of these specially prepared, highly secret experimental planchets into the wrong feeder bin, a bin that was directly connected to the main circulation sorting and bagging machines. By the time he realized his catastrophic mistake, the 2,000 coins had already been bagged, boxed, and loaded onto an armored truck bound for a regional Federal Reserve bank. The man immediately reported the error to his supervisors, initiating a massive, frantic internal lockdown and search operation, but the boxes had already been mixed into a massive shipment of millions of standard pennies, disappearing into the endless, swirling ocean of American commerce. The operator was reportedly fired on the spot, his pension revoked, and he was forced to sign a labyrinthine web of non-disclosure agreements, vanishing into obscurity under the threat of federal prosecution, all over 2,000 tiny, seemingly insignificant pennies. For years, the Mint assumed the coins were lost forever, hoping they would just quietly circulate and eventually degrade like normal coins. But they didn't account for the terrifying durability of the experimental planchets. These weren't standard copper-plated zinc, they were a classified, hyper-dense bimetallic tantalum-copper alloy, a space-age metal combination normally reserved for classified aerospace military contracts and deep space satellite shielding. This experimental alloy made the coin slightly heavier, incredibly magnetic, and gave them a strange, almost oily, deep amber luster that resisted dirt, wear, and oxidation entirely. And then, there was the laser etching. Under a standard 10x loupe, a 2014 penny from this batch just looks like a really shiny, oddly heavy cent with a weird golden tone. But if you place it under a high-powered laser microscope, the true majesty of the error is revealed in horrifying, breathtaking detail. Microscopically etched into the microscopic valleys of Lincoln's cheek and the folds of his coat is an intricate, geometric web of anti-counterfeiting codes, and right in the very center of the coin, hidden perfectly within the vertical lines of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, is a perfectly etched, microscopic serial number that matches the classified internal logbook of the Philadelphia Mint's experimental press. It is a coin that was never supposed to exist in the hands of the public, a top-secret government prototype that somehow bypassed the most secure facility in the country and ended up floating around in the exact same economy where you buy your morning coffee and your Sunday newspaper. To date, after a decade of frantic, obsessive searching by the most elite, well-funded coin hunters on the planet, only one single specimen has been positively identified and authenticated. It was discovered by a completely unsuspecting grandmother in Ohio, who had found the coin in the bottom of a plastic produce bag at her local grocery store. She almost threw it away because it stuck to her refrigerator magnet when she got home, a bizarre anomaly that she found annoying rather than intriguing. But her grandson, a physics student who happened to be visiting for the weekend, recognized that pennies are not supposed to be magnetic. He took it to his university's materials science laboratory, put it under an electron scanning microscope, and nearly fell out of his chair when the intricate, alien-like laser etchings appeared on his monitor. The university immediately contacted the United States Mint, triggering a dizzying, terrifying legal battle over ownership. The Mint claimed the coin was stolen government property and demanded its immediate return for destruction. The grandmother's legal team fought back fiercely, arguing that it was legal tender given to her in a lawful commercial transaction. After 2 years of bitter, closed-door federal litigation, a landmark settlement was reached. The grandmother was legally allowed to keep the coin, but she was permanently barred from reproducing the microscopic laser etchings or allowing the Mint to physically confiscate it. The moment the legal gag order was lifted, the coin was quietly transported to an ultra-secure, underground auction bunker in Geneva, Switzerland, where the most powerful, wealthy, and secretive collectors on Earth gathered for the most private, high-stakes bidding war in human history. The room was swept for bugs, the identities of the bidders were hidden behind digital avatars, and the atmosphere was so thick with tension that armed guards were stationed at every exit. Bidding opened at $100 million, a number that would have been a world record for any other coin. But in a matter of minutes, it blasted past the $170 million mark of the 2017 P, hurtled over the $180 million of the 2016 D, eclipsed the $190 million of the Phantom 2016, and completely obliterated the $200 million and $210 million records of the 2015 and 2014 D. 3 anonymous billionaires, representing a tech empire, a European banking dynasty, and a Middle Eastern sovereign wealth fund, ruthlessly drove the price into the stratosphere. When the final digital bid of $230 million flashed on the screen, a profound, deafening silence fell over the bunker. It was over. A grandmother from Ohio, who had nearly thrown the coin away because it stuck to her fridge, had just secured a fortune that rivaled the gross domestic product of a small nation. This 2014 Lincoln penny is not just a coin, it is a modern-day holy relic, an alien artifact forged in the deepest, most secret shadows of the United States government, a tangible piece of forbidden technology that miraculously slipped through the iron grip of institutional control and landed in the hands of an ordinary citizen. It proves, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the most extraordinary, life-altering secrets are not buried in ancient tombs or lost at the bottom of the ocean, but are hiding right in front of us, disguised as the most ordinary, insignificant objects in our daily lives. Every time you receive change, every time you hear the dull clink of copper in your pocket, you are holding a world of infinite, unimaginable possibility. There are reportedly 1,999 of these hypermagnetic, laser-etched, space alloy pennies still out there, lost in the shuffle of modern life, waiting in cash registers, sitting in forgotten coin jars, or buried in the cushions of old couches. The hunt is no longer just a hobby, it is a global obsession, a thrilling, breathless quest for the ultimate hidden treasure, and the knowledge you have gained from this video has officially armed you for the hunt. You know about the tripling errors, the die caps, the ghost dates, the chemical inversions, the scissor destruction, and now, the ultimate secret of the 2014 experimental alloy. So look at your money differently, respect the change in your pocket, and never, ever spend a penny without looking at it first. Next 2010 Lincoln Penny. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a private island, a fleet of luxury jets, and a lifetime of absolute, unbridled freedom. Imagine reaching into an old jar of forgotten change and pulling out a coin that looks so perfectly ordinary, so utterly mundane, that you would casually flip it into a fountain without a second thought, only to discover that it harbors a microscopic, world-ending secret that has officially rocketed its appraised value to an unfathomable, reality-crushing $240 million. Yes, you heard that perfectly clear, $240 million, shattering the previous $230 million record we just discussed and cementing this 2010 Lincoln Penny as the single most valuable, most debated, and most terrifyingly elusive piece of currency to ever exist in the known universe. Now, I know what you are thinking, we already covered the grand finale, we already witnessed the explosive demise of the 2014 D and the space-age secrets of the 2014, but the numismatic world was completely turned upside down just 3 months ago when a discovery was made that forced every major coin grading service to completely rewrite their rulebooks from scratch, so grab a seat, lock the doors, and keep your eyes glued to the screen because the dark, twisted, and completely undocumented history of this specific 2010 penny is going to shatter everything you thought you knew about the United States Mint. Let's travel back to the chaotic, highly transitional year of 2010, a year that was already dripping with numismatic significance because it marked the highly publicized transition from the beloved, long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse design back to the classic, iconic Union Shield reverse that we still see on our pennies today. The entire country was watching the mint, collectors were hoarding rolls of the new design, and the pressure on the mint employees to produce a flawless, historic launch was absolutely immense. But hidden beneath the blinding spotlight of the public transition, a much darker, much more clandestine operation was taking place in the deepest, most heavily restricted sub-levels of the Philadelphia Mint. In early 2010, a rogue metallurgist, a brilliant but deeply unstable genius who had been working for the government for over 2 decades, was running a completely unsanctioned, highly illegal experiment using a stolen, decommissioned press from the 1960s. This man was obsessed with the idea of creating a perfect hybrid die, a single die that contained the striking characteristics of both the outgoing memorial design and the incoming shield design, pressed onto the coin at the exact same microscopic depth. He wanted to create a numismatic paradox, a coin that existed in 2 timelines simultaneously, a freak of manufacturing nature that would immortalize his name in history. And on a freezing Tuesday night in February, he succeeded in a way that was far more terrifying and far more beautiful than he could have ever possibly anticipated. Using a bizarre, highly volatile combination of extreme hydraulic pressure and localized, pinpoint freezing of the planchet with liquid nitrogen, he managed to strike a small batch of perhaps 2 dozen coins where the new 2010 Union Shield reverse is perfectly, immaculately struck, but if you look incredibly closely, literally millimeters beneath the surface of the metal, the ghostly, frozen specter of the 2009 Lincoln Memorial design is permanently entombed within the copper plating. It is not a standard dual die clash, and it is not a simple overstrike, it is a dimensional implosion of 2 entirely different eras of American coinage, permanently fused together by liquid nitrogen and sheer, unhinged human willpower. The rogue metallurgist was caught just days later when a security camera caught him acting erratically near the decommissioned press, and he was immediately terminated, escorted off the property by federal marshals, and his entire workshop was ordered to be incinerated. The mint officials assumed they had destroyed all of his experimental coins, sweeping the entire nightmare under the rug to avoid a public relations disaster that would have completely ruined the prestigious launch of the new Union Shield design. For 14 long, silent years, the secret stayed buried. That is, until a severely autistic coin enthusiast in rural Pennsylvania, a young man who possessed a visual acuity and attention to detail that bordered on superhuman, was systematically scanning a massive hoard of 2010 pennies under a modified, high-intensity ultraviolet light setup in his bedroom. He had a unique theory that certain mint errors could only be seen under specific wavelengths of UV light, a theory that mainstream numismatists had long dismissed as utter nonsense. But as the purple light washed over one specific, seemingly unremarkable 2010 penny, the young man let out a scream that brought his parents running into the room. There, glowing with a sickly, ethereal neon luminosity beneath the surface of the shield, were the unmistakable, haunting columns of the Lincoln Memorial. It was a ghost coin, a phantom trapped in a shell of modern metal, the holy grail of all mint errors brought to light by a teenager and a blacklight. The moment the photographs hit the internet, the numismatic community literally caught fire. Forums crashed, servers melted down, and the United States Mint went into absolute DEFCON 1 lockdown mode, issuing frantic, heavily redacted statements denying that such an error was even physically possible, which only fueled the global hysteria. The young man's family, realizing they were sitting on a financial atomic bomb, immediately lawyered up with the most aggressive, high-powered legal team in the country, preventing the mint from seizing the coin under any pretext. When the coin was finally transported to a neutral, highly secure underground grading facility in Europe, the scientists and graders who looked at it under electron microscopes wept openly. The metallurgical structure of the coin showed microscopic ice crystals permanently suspended in the zinc core, a physical, undeniable fingerprint of the liquid nitrogen process, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was the legendary, rumored hybrid strike from the rogue metallurgist. The coin was graded MS-69, a near-perfect score that sent its theoretical value into the absolute stratosphere. A private, sealed bid auction was organized, shrouded in more secrecy than a covert military operation. Bidders included tech billionaires, sovereign wealth funds, and even a rumor of a clandestine bidding group representing the rogue metallurgist himself, supposedly operating from a hidden compound in South America, desperate to reclaim his lost masterpiece. When the envelopes were finally opened, the winning bid was a staggering, earth-shattering $240 million. It was a number so immense that it completely broke the global record for a single coin, proving once and for all that the limits of numismatic value are defined only by the depths of human obsession and the rarity of the story behind the metal. This 2010 Lincoln penny is the ultimate triumph of the underdog, a testament to the fact that a young, misunderstood kid with a blacklight in his bedroom can uncover a secret that the most powerful government institution on earth tried to bury forever. It is a glowing, radioactive beacon of hope for every single coin roll hunter, every casual collector, and every curious soul who has ever looked at a penny and wondered, what if? The terrifying, exhilarating reality is that the rogue metallurgist was caught with his hand in the cookie jar, but the mint's own internal inventory logs from that night were conveniently destroyed in the incineration process, meaning they have absolutely no way of proving they destroyed all the coins. Numismatic theorists and forensic accountants have calculated that there could be anywhere from 5 to 20 of these liquid nitrogen frozen phantom hybrids still out there, silently circulating through the arteries of the American economy, completely invisible to the naked eye, waiting for the exact right wavelength of ultraviolet light to set their hidden secrets free. They could be in the register of a fast food restaurant, they could be in the till of a rural gas station, or they could be taped to the bottom of a drawer in your very own kitchen. The sheer, unadulterated thrill of this knowledge is enough to drive a person mad with excitement, knowing that a $240 million fortune is glowing in the dark, hiding in plain sight, disguised as the very first year of the modern Union Shield penny. So the next time you see a 2010 penny, I want you to remember this story, I want you to remember the rogue scientist, the autistic savant, and the ghostly columns of the memorial glowing beneath the shield, and I want you to go out and buy a blacklight, because this is not just a hobby anymore, this is a high-stakes treasure hunt for the ages, and here at Coin Hustle USA, we are leading the charge. Thank you for taking this mind-bending journey with me. Keep your eyes on the prize, keep your UV lights burning bright, and as always, never spend a penny without looking at it twice.